listeners, this is Pradeep Nayak here, CEO of Fuel India. I welcome you all to another exciting session of event industry. And today we're going to talk about equipments in event industry. There are many equipments that are used in the event industry to put a show together to give you a wow effect. When we see an event, it's a wholesome experience. But there are many categories and there are many elements of these equipments which are in sync to deliver something that is expected by the client, that is expected as a part of the show. So how we put together, what are those equipments? Well, there will be more than 100 plus equipments in each and every event, but I've divided them into four main categories. And I will just run through the main elements of this categories, because if I start discussing each and every small elements, then I'm sure one session would not be enough. You will be able to experience this as a part of your practical exposure while you're doing events, while you are a part of the console team looking at the sound, or where you're part of the back end stage where you're looking at the lights, etc. So you will gain more experience, more information, and details of each and every element that has been used in the event as you experience events. However, as event managers, there are a few basics that we are supposed to know, and that's what I'm doing it today. So I will quickly run through those main categories and the elements under these main categories with some pictorial representation for you to understand it easily. Allow me to show you the presentation. These are the different types of events, and if you see, the first image is an award show, the second image is a conference, the third one is an exposition, the fourth one is a concert, the fifth one is a fashion show, the sixth one is a mall activation that's happening in a mall. Now, if you see, these are different types of events or different categories of events that are happening, and there are different elements that are used here to put this together. Well, there could be a lot of elements which is very common. I would say, like for example, lights and sound, it's very common. It's same, or it would be different in terms of the number of people who are attending or people who are viewing those events. Those things can change, but there are few elements which are very, very common amongst all the six event types put together. So the main category of equipments, first one is sound equipments, second one is lighting equipments, third one is audiovisual equipments, the fourth one is trussing and scaffolding, and the fifth one, last but not the least, is recording equipments. Each and every category plays its own important role in the show. As we go into detail, you will be able to analyze it and understand as to how each and every element plays its own role. So first, let's talk about sound equipments. The first image that you see are different kinds of speaker. Now, what I'm showing you is a one particular brand, and there are different varieties of speakers. Now, depending upon the number of people, depending upon the size of the event, depending upon whether it is an indoor event or it's an outdoor event, what is the purpose of the event, if it is a conference where the vocal is more important, or if it's a dance show, anything. So the brief from the client or the understanding of the brief by the event agency has to be in detail. Based on that, the event agency or the operations department from the event agency will be able to suggest a suitable sound that is required for an event. Now, if you're talking about, for example, if I'm talking about 100 packs conference for 100 people, then I know if there, and again, I have to get some more clarity from the client saying that, is it only vocal, is it only conference, or is there an option of playing some videos or some music will be part of the presentation. So we have to be very, very clear, because if it is only vocal, then just the top speakers will do. But if there is some music, there is some videos to be played, then the bass is also required. And again, we have to ask questions like, is it happening indoor, is it outdoor, do we have enough space to place the bass, the music speakers? So there is a list of questions that you have to ask the client or understand from an operations perspective when you're planning the equipments for an event. So these are different types of equipments in terms of sound. There are like the top speakers, the bass, there is delay in the sense when we do an event in a bigger hall, when there are more than 1,500 people, near the stage you will see a set of sound speakers, but the same might not reach out to the person sitting in the last row. So what we do is we set up another set of speakers halfway through the hall. When we finish around 500 number of people seating, then we put another set of sounds so that another 500 people or till the last of the sound is uh, heard, or the person who's speaking is heard clearly. So these are delay speakers. Then there are monitors, or they called as stage monitors. These are used for the person who's performing on the stage or talking on the stage. For example, if there's a person giving out a speech on the stage and the speakers are facing towards the audience, so what is happening is that he's not able to understand as to what he's saying clearly. And also most of the times it is used during musical performances or during band performances. The artist has to listen to what he's playing. Only then he'll be able to improvise or work upon it further. So there is always a monitor that is for the artist on the stage, and then the speakers which is for the audience. So there are different varieties. I'm sure as a part of your session during production, you'll be able to go into detail. But yeah, the easiest exposure for you on this is when you become a part of an event, and when you are able to see what exactly happens, and each of these do play their role. On the right hand side, you see different types of mic. Now, every mic has its own purpose. So initially when the event industry started, there was always a cord. So it used to be placed on a stand. So they were always connected. The cordless came much later. So we had cord mics, then we had cordless mics, and then we came up with collar mics. And today we have many other, like for example, if there is a theater performance, we have mics that hang from the ceiling which capture a lot of sound that is there, because during theater performance it is not an individual sound that is required. We require the sound of the entire set. So there are different speakers for it. There's collar mic, which is normally like the one you see in the image with next to a battery. So these are something that is clipped on, like the one that I'm wearing. These are called collar mics. Mostly used for the speaker so that their hands are free. They can use it to express it well, or can be used for a slide changer or anything for that matter. Cordless hand mics are used by the MCs, or could be a lot of people feel comfortable using mic. A lot of singers use it. And nowadays what has happened is that cord mics have kind of done, like they're not hardly used as long as it is a sit down performance, but mostly people are using cordless mics. And if it's a singer who needs it on a stand, then it will be placed on a stand, but it's still cordless mic. So there are different types of mics. All these mics are connected through a particular frequency which is kept at the console, and based on the frequency they catch, and they emit the sound that is required. So as I mentioned a little before that, you will have to experience it to understand it better. This is just for your understanding as to what each of these elements are. Next, this is where the heart and soul of the event stand. This is the console area, and what you're seeing is the mixer for sound. So it would vary from the type of events that we do. Now what you're seeing on the left hand side, the first image, is a 64 channel mixer. So when we are doing shows where there are more than 15-20 cordless hand mics used, where different speakers are used, a lot of things that are happening on the stage, different types of music is taken, then we use a big mixer, that is a 64 channel or a 128 channel mixer. But if it's a small show, if it's only two speakers on the stage, and a very less use of equipment, then we will go for an 8 channel mixer or a 16 channel mixer, or a 32 channel mixer. So based on it, so if it's a band performance, there are multiple brands performing, and there are 20-30 speakers coming on stage, everybody wants, if it's a panel discussion, so just to keep that there is time saved and everything, so we use a bigger mixer. So mixer, there are a lot of technical people. They are known as sound engineers who know how this works. Today things have changed. There is a lot of touch-based sound mixes that have come, and also there are preset. So what happens is that based on each and every artist. So before an artist performs on a stage, there is a sound rehearsal that happens, and when they do the sound rehearsal, they set the sound requirement of each and every artist at that point of time during the rehearsal, and they map it and they save it on those computers. Today we have advanced technology in this, so they save it, and then when the show goes live, it is all saved and it automatically takes, so you don't have to waste time checking and adjusting your sound in front of the audience before at the time of show. So all these things would have already been done at the time of rehearsals. So things have advanced, and there are like, if you're really passionate about sound alone, there's a lot of scope that you can gain here. You can do a specialization in sound engineering, and you can only manage that. When we work with bigger artists. We have bigger artists, like for example, we work with Zakir Hussain and many other artists. They have their own sound engineer who knows how these artists would require sound, and like we set up the entire console, the sound mixer, etc. And the sound engineer from the artist would come and take it over, and he takes care of the entire show. So this is pretty much giving you an heads up on sound equipment. These are the main equipments that you should know as an event manager. But as I time and again I mentioned that the best exposure is when you are a part of this doing events in the event scene. The next category is lighting equipment. So in lighting, what happens is that there are plenty of options, but these are basic and something which is there in every event, which you can add many other elements in this equipment, but these are basics and you would see this in most of the shows. So if you have been to any of the event, you have to just look up to the truss, and you will be able to see most of these elements used. So the first one that you see is a fog machine. So fog machine, as you see, and the name goes, it is about creating fog or creating that foggy effect in this stage while one artist comes, or if there is a special launch, if there is a car launch that is happening, or if there is an artist who's coming, if there is a dance performance that needs a foggy effect. So these fog machines are used. These are filled with some liquid fog demystifier, which is filled inside the machine, and it can remotely controlled, or it can be controlled to a wire from the console. So the entire show runs from a console. A console is created, a technical console, in which a lighting mixer, a lighting person, a lighting engineer sits there, a sound engineer sits there, and an AV engineer sits there. They all manage the show along with the event manager or the technical person from the event company who's sitting there and managing the show as per their schedule. So fog machine, it can be operated both through manual and technical. The second one is LED power light. One of the widely and the highest used equipment in lighting is LED power light. If you're doing a small stall display, if you have small backdrop, if you have a big event, a small show, any kind of show that you have, you will find this element come whatsoever. Whether it is just two of this used or hundreds of this LED power light used, but this is something that is used in each and every event that I have seen. The third one, what we see, so before I go on to the third one, so LED power light. So initially what used to happen is power cans used to come. They're a little big one, and they used to put a film in front of it based on the color that you want. So you want a yellow color, you put a yellow film. You want red color, you put a yellow red film. You want a blue color, you put a blue film. And those were halogen kind of a setup, and used to consume a lot of light. Well, technology, as you see, advances every day by day as we speak. So then came the LED power light. Well, if you see those small bulbs there, so right behind this LED power light is a small button through which you can set, and you can work up to 130 different types of colors that you can emit with just a press of a button. And if this is connected to the lighting mixer with just few buttons that you control there, you can change the entire look of the stage or the backdrop in a matter of few seconds, and they can convert into any color. So that's the beauty of technology, that it advances every year, and it becomes even more convenient for us to use it and even more optional to use it. The third one we're talking about is follow spot. So you might have, if anybody has experienced fashion shows, so fashion shows, or if there is a solo speaker a stage kind of a setup, or if there is a car that is entering into the show at the time of product launch, or there is a speaker who's coming out, breaking the screen and coming. So follow spot is a circle that creates where we dim the entire light of the venue and just focus, as we say, it creates a spot. Focus on the person who's performing, or person who's talking, or anything for that matter. Used for fashion shows also. The main purpose is to highlight one particular object or a person, and bring the attention of people to that particular point, and automatically demystify the rest. So that's the purpose of follow spot. Well, there are many things. There are manual, again remote controlled, so multiple ways. Mostly it is used manual because it has to be controlled by a person. So this is, and they're situated right behind the console most of the times, and in the center of the stage. That is one. The next one is profile lights. So profile lights is something that is fixed onto the, the T stands or the truss or wherever the option is, purely focusing or highlighting the speaker or the performer. It gives you a combination of a white and yellow light, so that it stands out well, the photographs come out well, the speaker or the performer or the person is actually seen very clearly. So that is the main purpose of profile light. Again, so if there are six panelists sitting on the stage, I will have six profile lights. Each profile light focusing on one panelist so that it's covered well, it's lit well, and the person can be seen well. So each and every element that we use in the lighting equipments has its own purpose, and there is a meaning to it. The next one we see is a moving head, also called a Sharpie. So moving head is something, as the name goes, it keeps moving, it keeps revolving in all different directions. So it can be used like a Sharpie also with a beam light. You might have seen in big shows like Sunburn or any other shows where it creates two big beams or multiple beams at the stage. So this can be kept at the corners of the stage, giving you that effect, or it can be fixed onto the truss or onto the lighting trussing, where it is hanged upside down, and it is again remotely controlled all through wire, but everything is controlled through the lighting mixer at the console. So the another advantage for this is the lens from where it is emitting the light. You can customize it based on the logo that you're going to create or the company logo that you have. So a lot of companies customize it with their logo. So whenever the light runs on a particular wall or a backdrop, you can see the logo is being created. So that is the beauty of it. Most of the shows, yeah, the second highest used product in terms of lighting is moving head or Sharpie. The fourth one that we see here is blinders. These are mostly used during concerts and shows, which is fixed onto the truss facing the audience. As the name goes, blinders, it's also known as audience blinder. So when the performance is going on the stage, all the lightings are focused on the stage, and the audience side is completely dimmed or blacked out, so that everybody get to see what is happening on the stage. But when the performance ends and they want to interact, if the artist wants to interact with the audience and he wants to see their faces, so this audience blinder is turned on. It is not harsh focusing on a particular audience, but it is throughout the entire audience gets lit up, and the artist can see the audience and interact with them. So that's the beauty and the usage of blinders. So before I come into the next category, so there are another 20-30 elements of equipments that is used under lighting. There could be LED wash that has been used. There is even more types of demystifier and fog that have been used, laser light that has been used, and many more. So as I mentioned, you might have to experience this event in detail for you to understand how each and every element of the lighting plays its own role. So let's go on to the next third category, that is AV equipments. As the name says, it's an audio visual, mostly visual, I would say. So the initial time, so what happens in an event is that you have a backdrop. The backdrop could be flex or anything, or at times if you have to have something dynamic, you don't want like what happens in a flex backdrop or a cloth backdrop. There's a fixed content, fixed artwork, nothing will change. The entire event, the same thing. But if you want something to change, if you want something to show, you want to show some presentation, some artwork, anything. So the initial thing started off in our industry with projectors. So the projector screen, what you see here, these are ready-made ones, the screen, but there are a few screens that we get which can be mounted as per the artwork. For example, you have a 20:8 backdrop and you have a 12:8 size of artwork or AV projection that you want to do. So you get the AV projector fabric, you mount it onto that frame, and then you have a back projection of the projector, short throw, or you have front projection. Now, if this backdrop is used on a stage, then they will avoid front projection, because as in then when you cross the projector, you will see there's an obstruction. So most of the times they use it at the back. So this is where it started, and this was widely used for like good 10, 15, 20 years. And slowly it started kind of, dying down there. And hardly, I think nowadays they use projector, as long as it's a basic event and the projector is already fixed onto the ceiling, it's happening in a hotel or so, then they use projectors. Otherwise, today everywhere, most of the things you would see is an LED wall. The second image that you see is an LED wall. The beauty of LED wall is that day by day from P6, when I say P6, it's the pixelations, the gap between each LED thing which forms that entire thing is like a 0.6 mm. So it reduced to 6 to 4, 3 to 2. Today we have P1, which is like, what's the difference? So when you play a presentation at P6, you can watch it from a very far distance, but the smaller elements, the text, you cannot, like, there'll be some distortion that will happen. But with P1, which is the latest in the market today, you can see very close, like if you're just 10-15 feet away from this LED wall, you can still read the text, everything well. So it's like more clarity. So the pixel, the difference between each LED thing that forms the entire thing, the gap reduces as the technology advances. So LED is widely used. I would say today, out of 100% of the event that happens, around 80% of the event they use LED wall in different forms on different stages. So it depends. If tier one is using P1, P2, P3, the tier two that is using P4, P5, P6. There are LED walls which can be used for outdoors. There is LED mesh that has come today, which is lightweight. LED walls can be hanged from the truss, completely giving you clearance at the ground level. So there are different varieties of use. There are VJs, they're known as visual jockeys, who will customize the artwork that has to come on LED wall. So it doesn't have to be straight, square, rectangle. So I can use a square thing, use a circular artwork in front of it. Could be a frame, and just use a circular part, and my visual jockey will customize the artwork in such a way that I will see only that circular area. Or you will say, oh my God, it's LED wall circular. No, it is actually square or rectangle at the back, but I've used a frame to make it look. So it all depends how we're going to use it. How so? If you see the visual here, they're trying to show a landscape, but the way they have positioned it. So this is the part of AGO equipment, and I'm sure when you experience it in person, you will understand it much better. The third thing which has taken off the industry by storm is the projection mapping. What is projection mapping? Again, we are going back to the older technology, which was the projector. Yeah, exactly, projection. But this is a high intensity, high lumens projector used for outdoor or indoor purposes. But how it works is that there's a technology or a software that is created. Before creating any kind of artwork in that technology or the software, the entire, so first image that you see is mapping on a surface. Now there is a building, they mapped the building inch by inch, and then loaded their entire framework, the architecture, to the software. And then they have created artwork which will run within that boundaries only. And through high projector, it is projected onto that building. And not one projector, they use at least 5-10 such big projectors of, I would say, around 10,000, 20,000 lumens, and then it is projected onto the wall. Everything is combined or synced to one processor, and then this outcome, what you see, is achieved. On the right hand side, you see that is the building that is in Australia, the famous building of Australia. As soon as we see that, we get to know it's Australia. And you can imagine it's a humongous size, and the entire building is mapped. They've mapped each and every inch of it, and they have created artwork accordingly, and it has been projected. So you might have seen, where is the projector? I'm sure it is on the sea or on the river body. They might have created a truss, and it is hanged from there. So it is projected from there. There has to be some source of projection. But that is the beauty today, that with LED wall, what happens is that we are limited to a certain areas and everything. But with projection mapping, that is where the future is, that you can project anything and anywhere as long as you have mapped it, and every inch and every centimeter is correctly calculated, and you create artwork there. This is more lively. This is where the future is heading in terms of events, in terms of creativity. So this is what you will get to experience in time when you get into the event industry. So these are the three different types of projections or audiovisual experiences that happen. Now let's go to the fourth category: trussing and scaffolding. Now, what is the purpose of truss and scaffolding? So all the lighting that we do on a stage has to go on truss most of the times, or else it will go on a T-truss or a lighting truss, which is kept a little away from the stage, away from the audience. So that is one option. So the main purpose of the truss is to achieve the visual identity of the stage, or to make sure the sound and lights are placed on that. It's like a framework. The first image that you see is scaffolding. So scaffolding can be used for branding. Scaffolding can be used for creating a nice backdrop and having visual elements hang to it. Scaffolding can be used, as the third image goes, is when we do an outdoor image, we have to hang the light. That's called, what you're seeing that image is the line array of sound. So for hanging such things, so scaffolding is used in building construction work also. So it is just that the event guys got a little more creative and started using the same scaffolding with even more strength for event purposes. In the center, what you see is truss. This is a circular and a mix of different types of truss. But normally you see a square truss, a rectangular truss, and truss normally is used to hang sounds and lights, or to achieve your visual design of the stage. As I said again, and I would repeat, you will be able to judge and understand this more in clarity when you go and be a part of an event personally. So the way you see events from now on is going to be completely different. After me exposing you to all these equipments, the way you visualize, the way you see events is going to be totally different. Further, I would suggest when you visit, make a note and watch these things very, very carefully. The next that I go to is recording equipments. Now, recording, I'm sure each and everyone today uses a smartphone. A smartphone has a lot of like video and camera options. So you're saying, why is this important? Yeah, well, a professional recording of equipment of event is very, very important. So it could be for multiple reasons. One is recording the event for you to understand and make a note or use it for marketing purpose at a later stage. Now in recording, the first and foremost thing that has been always used is the photography. That's a basic thing. Capture the event, but that is more static. So once you capture, it is static. So what happens if you want a dynamic? So then came the videography. So in any event, videographer is there who will put a tripod. He'll place his video camera on that tripod, and it is recording whatever is happening on the stage. The second thing what we also do is there is an output given, video output from the camera. It is connected to the console, and whatever is the speaker, for example, if we have an event where there are 5,000 people and there's only one stage, the 5,000, the person who's sitting in the end, he can't see that speaker who's there. The stage will be like there somewhere very far. So what we do is the videographer captures it on a very close angle. The video output is given, and then it is emitted, or it is projected on an LED wall which is much closer to the 5,000th person. So halfway to the hall there's another delay LED projector, LED wall that has been put, or a projector that has been put from the console using switcher. The camera captures what is happening on the stage and it gives an output there. So what happens, everybody there can see. So there has been shows, there has been Coldplay who came to India. There were 40,000 people. So you think the person who's standing in the end can see when Coldplay performs? Definitely he will look like a one small tiny one element, but that far you will be the last person in that row will be there. So how do we get to know who's performing on the stage? Is through the delay screens, that is through LED walls that has been created, and the videographer who's capturing that, giving an output to those delays so that you can see who's there on the stage and more clearly. So recording of equipments is used in multiple angles and multiple purpose, and exactly and what is the purpose. So if you want to show something else on the screen, then you would need things like mixer. The third image that you see at the bottom, you see there's a person is working with the mixer. Like there will be different cameras. Like a bigger event will have 4, 5, 6 cameras, some from drone, some from a jimmy jib, some very close angles, some standstill. There are different terminologies that we use and different purpose of the terminologies. So the mixer sits there and controls. So the event is been captured from all 5, 6 cameras. The mixer, the person who's doing the video mixing, based on the instruction that he's got from the event manager or from the client, will exactly project what has to come on the screen, and he keeps switching it. At times, I'm sure you would have seen big shows like Filmfare or iFi Awards and everything. You see when a performance happens, there is an angle where you see Shah Rukh Khan performing from the front. Then you see all of a sudden you see Rekha and all the artists in the audience. And then so you that doesn't mean that one camera person is just turning around everywhere. He cannot do that. So there are different cameras. The video mixes switches between different cameras using a switcher. So there is, yeah, as I mentioned, there are many more technical details to it, which you will experience only when in person, when you go there and sit again with them. These are different equipments. As I told you, drone camera today has become kind of a mandate with most of the events. It makes a little bit of noise though. If it's an indoor, it will become a little disturbing, but in outdoors, it works out brilliant. Biggest of the events have been captured. They use drones to create highlight videos and everything to capture the bird's eye view that an event can get. That's the beauty of it. And as the photographers can be as creative as possible using drone. That's right. The last one that you see is a jimmy jib, which is used in movie industry also. It is also used in weddings. It is used in events. It depends upon what. So there will be a jimmy jib handler who handles. It's like a crane who handles it, and based on the inputs that he receives on his in-ears from the mixer that would capture this angle. I want this angle. So most of the stage shows will have that. So you will see a lot of times when the artist is performing, you might not see the camera, but you will see the angle of the camera. It is focusing on artist going running behind the trees and everything. So that's a jimmy jib, but it's capturing it in different angles. So that's the beauty of jimmy jib. It is still widely used in the event industry and the movie industry. I would suggest that you guys go and experience this, and you'll be able to understand much better. With this, I would come to the end of the session called equipments. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, also, what I'm showcasing is just the basics of equipments, what an event manager should know before he talks to his technical person. But it is always good to know each and every detail, each and every function of these equipments, how they're connected, how they perform. Like under AV, we have switcher, which is a part of it. In sound, we have amplifiers, we have connectors, we have snake cable, and so on. So there is no end to it. Every day, for me, it's been 15 years in the industry, and every day is a new learning. Every event is a new learning. Every new technology is a new learning. So always keep yourself updated. Make sure you are surrounded with all this kind of information and knowledge. Keep yourself updated. The best way to learn is to be a part of the event, and I wish you all the best. Be a part of the event. Observe things differently now, since you are a little aware of what happens in the event industry. Thank you all. Have a great day.